Welcome to the channel, friends. Today, we're diving into a classic American showdown. 6 Ford cars versus 6 Chevy cars. Which one actually lasted longer? This video turned out to be a fascinating ride, so make sure to support the channel by subscribing and liking. It really helps us grow and lets us know we're on the right track. Thank you. Now, when people think of Ford versus Chevy, the first things that usually come to mind are speed, style, and fierce brand loyalty. But today we're not talking about bragging rights or burnouts. We're asking the real question. Which of these legendary cars truly stood the test of time? Which ones kept going mile after mile, decade after decade? We're not just looking at what was popular, we're looking at what actually survived. In this journey, we'll cover some of Ford's most respected machines, including the iconic Ford Bronco and the always reliable Ford Ranger. You'll also see some beloved Chevys, from sturdy workhorses to muscle legends. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we start with Ford. Number 6, 1948 Ford Mercury truck, the forgotten workhorse that refused to quit. When people talk about classic Ford trucks, the conversation often revolves around the F-Series, especially the American-built versions. But there's a lesser-known chapter in Ford's truck history that deserves just as much respect. The 1948 Ford Mercury truck. It's a vehicle that many Americans have never seen, but for Canadians, it was a symbol of reliability, toughness, and everyday practicality. Why the Mercury truck existed? In post-war Canada, Ford faced a unique challenge. Rural communities were spread out, dealerships were limited, and the company wanted to make sure both Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealers had trucks to sell. The solution? Introduced the Mercury-branded truck lineup. Mechanically, the Mercury trucks were almost identical to Ford's new F-Series pickups. Same body, same engines, but with unique grills, badges, and trim to distinguish them from their Ford cousins. It was a smart move. Mercury trucks gave smaller, independent dealers across Canada something to sell to local farmers, builders, and small businesses that needed a tough, affordable work vehicle. The 1948 model was especially important because it was the very first year of Ford's completely redesigned post-war truck platform. It marked the birth of what would become the legendary F-Series, but with a distinctly Canadian twist. Built to last under the hood, the 1948 Mercury truck typically came with Ford's proven 239 cubic inch flathead V8 engine, a reliable and easy-to-maintain power plant that delivered just enough torque to handle heavy loads without overcomplicating things. These engines were famous for their durability, and their simple, rugged design meant they could be repaired by anyone with a basic set of tools. The truck's heavy-duty chassis and suspension were also built for abuse. In the post-war years, roads in rural Canada were often little more than dirt trails, and these trucks handled rough terrain, harsh winters, and heavy hauling with surprising resilience. But what really made these trucks special was their longevity. Owners weren't cycling through trucks every few years the way people do now. These machines were often kept for decades, passed down in families, or used until they finally rusted beyond repair. And even then, many were revived and restored because the bones were still solid. Number 5, 1953 Ford F-100, the beginning of a legend. The 1953 Ford F-100 wasn't just another pickup. It was the truck that redefined what a working vehicle could be. More than a tool, more than a farm truck, the F-100 became the bridge between rugged utility and everyday drivability. It marked the start of Ford's now legendary F-Series second generation, a truck line that would eventually become the best-selling vehicle in America. The F-100 replaces the F-1. Before 1953, Ford's post-war pickup was the F-1, a tough, honest truck that did exactly what it needed to do. But as the 1950s rolled in, Americans wanted more. They wanted comfort, style, and capability, not just bare-bones workhorses. Ford responded by launching the F-100 in 1953, replacing the F-1 and kicking off a new era. This was Ford's 50th anniversary, and the F-100 was more than just a refresh. It was a carefully designed step forward. It brought improved engineering, smoother styling, and options that made trucks feel less like farm equipment and more like daily drivers. What made it special? First, the styling. The 1953 F100 introduced a wider, more rounded grille, integrated headlights, and a cleaner, more modern look. It still looked tough, but it had a sense of refinement that was missing from older pickups. Ford also focused on driver comfort. The F100 offered a larger cab with more legroom, better seats, and improved visibility. This was a time when most trucks were still uncomfortable to drive long distances, but Ford wanted to make their trucks practical for both work and personal use. In fact, they started advertising pickups as vehicles you could use during the week and still take to town on weekends. Under the hood, the 1953 F100 came with either a 215 cubic inch inline six or the proven 239 cubic inch flathead V8. Both engines were known for their reliability, but the V8 gave the truck some much-needed power for towing and hauling. The 3-speed manual transmission was standard, but buyers could also opt for a 4-speed or automatic, which was a big step toward making trucks more accessible to the average driver. Another key improvement was the new overhead valve engine design, which Ford would fully embrace in later years. The F100 was part of the evolution that would eventually lead to more efficient, higher performance truck engines. A truck that truly lasted. One of the reasons the 1953 Ford F100 is still celebrated today is because these trucks were built to last. Their simple, durable frames and reliable drivetrains meant they stayed on the road, or in the fields, for decades. Even after hard use, many could be brought back to life with basic repairs. That's why so many F100s still exist today, whether fully restored, customized, or proudly worn from a life of honest work. Number 4. 1955 Ford Thunderbird, the car that changed Ford forever. The 1955 Ford Thunderbird wasn't just a car, it was a cultural moment. Born out of a perfect blend of post-war prosperity, American innovation, and the growing desire for personal freedom, the Thunderbird didn't just launch a model, it launched a movement. Ford didn't design the Thunderbird to be a raw muscle machine or a stripped-down sports car. It was something different. It was a personal luxury car, a concept that barely existed at the time. It promised style, power, and comfort, all wrapped in a sleek two-seat roadster that was perfect for cruising down wide-open highways. A direct answer to Chevrolet's Corvette. When Chevrolet introduced the Corvette in 1953, it sparked a new kind of competition. Ford's answer was quick and direct: the Thunderbird. But unlike the Corvette, which struggled in its early years, the Thunderbird hit the mark right away because it wasn't just a sports car, it was a lifestyle car. While the Corvette focused on performance and handling, the Thunderbird emphasized style and comfort first, with speed second. Ford wanted people to feel good behind the wheel, whether they were tearing down back roads or simply enjoying a weekend drive. Design that turned heads, the 1955 Thunderbird's design is still iconic. Its long hood, short rear deck, wide front grille, and removable fiberglass hardtop gave it a look of effortless cool. The car sat low with smooth flowing lines that captured the spirit of the jet age. Ford offered bold color choices and plenty of chrome, exactly what American buyers wanted in the booming 1950s. The interior wasn't just functional, it was luxurious for its time. You got full instrumentation, a telescoping steering wheel, and even power seat options. It was clear that the Thunderbird wasn't meant to compete with bare-bones European sports cars. It was an American expression of what a personal car should feel like. Power that delivered under the hood, the Thunderbird came equipped with a 292 cubic inch Y-block V8, producing 193 horsepower. It wasn't built for the racetrack, but it had more than enough punch for spirited highway cruising. Buyers could choose between a 3-speed manual or Ford's smooth 3-speed automatic transmission, which made the car even more approachable for the average driver. It drove well, it looked stunning, and it was practical enough to use every day. This combination made the Thunderbird an immediate success. Ford sold over 16,000 units in its first year alone, far outpacing the early Corvette, a legacy that lasts. The 1955 Thunderbird's impact is undeniable. It didn't just become a bestseller, it created the personal luxury car segment that would dominate American roads for decades. Cars like the Buick Riviera, Pontiac Grand Prix, and later Ford Thunderbirds all owe their existence to this moment. Number 3. 1964 Ford Galaxy 500, the unsung hero of Ford's muscle era. The 1964 Ford Galaxy 500 is often overshadowed by flashier names like the Mustang or the Fairlane Thunderbolt. But make no mistake, this car was a serious player in Ford's performance story. It was big, bold, and in many ways, it was Ford's secret weapon in the full-size muscle and NASCAR wars of the early 1960s, designed for presence and speed. In 1964, Ford gave the Galaxy 500 a final refresh before a major body redesign the following year. The car was weighted by low and undeniably confident. The stacked quad headlights, clean body lines, and subtle chrome accents gave it a look that was both muscular and elegant, not trying too hard, but still turning heads. While the Galaxy 500 was available as a basic family sedan, the real magic came when you started looking under the hood. The power options were impressive. The engine lineup in 1964 was where the Galaxy 500 really flexed its muscles. Buyers could choose anything from the smooth and reliable 223 cubic inch inline-six to a series of serious V8s. But for enthusiasts, the star was the 427 cubic inch V8, available in both a single 4-barrel, 410 horsepower, and dual 4-barrel setup, 425 horsepower. This was a race-bred engine, the same kind Ford used to dominate NASCAR in the early 1960s. In fact, the Galaxy 500 with the 427 was not just a street cruiser, it was a factory-built rocket, capable of quarter-mile times that put it squarely in muscle car territory. Even before the muscle car label really took off, it came with options like a 4-speed manual transmission, heavy-duty suspension, and limited slip differential, making it far more than a big, soft cruiser. When properly equipped, the Galaxy 500 was a legitimate street brawler that could comfortably carry 5 people while still embarrassing smaller, supposedly faster cars at the stoplight. A NASCAR legend. The Galaxy 500's NASCAR success is a major part of its legacy. In 1964, drivers like Fred Lorenzen piloted these full-size Fords to victory on some of the sport's biggest stages. The combination of raw power and aerodynamic tweaks, like the fastback roofline, helped Ford challenge the dominance of Dodge and Plymouth. NASCAR wasn't just racing, it was marketing. Winning on Sunday sold cars on Monday, and the Galaxy 500's track success gave it real street credibility. Not just a muscle car, but the Galaxy 500 wasn't all about speed. It was also a comfortable, dependable full-size car. Whether you bought it with the base 6-cylinder or the monster 427, it was roomy, well-built, and suited for American highways. The interior was simple but solid, with available upgrades like bucket seats, center console, and AM radio. It was a car you could take to the drag strip on Saturday and drive to church on Sunday. A lasting legacy. The 1964 Galaxy 500 may not get the same level of attention as some other Ford legends, but it absolutely deserves respect. It was a bridge between the family car and the performance machine. A big, capable car that delivered comfort, reliability, and serious speed when properly optioned. Number 2, 1966 Ford Bronco, the birth of an American icon. The 1966 Ford Bronco wasn't just another new vehicle, it was a bold step into a market Ford had never seriously competed in before. At the time, Jeep dominated the off-road scene, and International Harvester had the Scout. Ford saw a gap. People wanted something that was rugged, but also more comfortable and usable as a daily driver. That's where the Bronco came in. The 1966 model wasn't about luxury or big power. It was about smart design, versatility, and go-anywhere capability. And while it wasn't an immediate sales leader, it quietly laid the foundation for what would eventually become one of the most beloved off-road vehicles in American history. A purpose-built off-roader. Unlike many competitors at the time, Ford built the Bronco from scratch. It wasn't just a modified truck or a reworked station wagon. It had its own unique chassis, a tight 92-inch wheelbase for exceptional maneuverability, and a simple, boxy body that's now instantly recognizable. The design was intentionally minimalistic: flat body panels, round headlights, and a functional, no-frills interior. But that simplicity was part of its charm, and part of what made it so durable. It came in 3 body styles: a wagon with a hard top, a half-cab pickup, and an open-body roadster. Ford knew their buyers wanted options. A Bronco could haul gear, climb rocks, or just cruise around town, all without feeling out of place. Performance that worked under the hood, the original 1966 Bronco came standard with a 170 cubic inch inline-6, making about 105 horsepower. By today's standards, that seems modest, but it was plenty for the lightweight Bronco, especially when combined with the rugged four-wheel drive system. Later that same year, Ford introduced the 289 cubic inch V8 as an option, giving the Bronco some serious extra muscle and making it even more capable both on and off the road. This addition really helped the Bronco stand out from the Jeep CJ and other competitors who struggled to offer V8 power at the time. Ford also gave the Bronco a 3-speed manual transmission with a floor-mounted shifter, a Dana 20 transfer case, and solid axles front and rear. This made it incredibly capable off-road, right out of the box. Built for adventure, not just work. What separated the Bronco from vehicles like the Jeep CJ was that it didn't feel like you were driving a military vehicle. It was still tough, but Ford added just enough comfort to make it usable as a practical, everyday car. There was actual cabin insulation, an available heater, and, eventually, automatic transmission options. It wasn't just for the farm or the construction site, it was a vehicle that fit into people's active lifestyles. Whether you wanted to go fishing, camping, or just needed something that could handle rough winters, the Bronco was ready. Number 1, 1983 Ford Ranger, the small truck that made a big impact. The 1983 Ford Ranger wasn't just another pickup. It was Ford's first real entry into the compact truck market with a model fully designed in-house. Until this point, Ford had rebadged the Mazda-built Courier to compete with the small trucks coming from Japan. But by the early 1980s, it was clear that America needed its own compact truck. That's where the Ranger came in. The 1983 model wasn't flashy, but it was a game changer for Ford. It offered practicality, durability, and affordability, all wrapped in a size that fit perfectly with the growing demand for smaller, more fuel-efficient trucks. Built for a changing America. In the early 1980s, gas prices were still on people's minds, and there was a growing appetite for compact, versatile vehicles. Full-size trucks like the F-150 were still kings of towing and heavy hauling, but many people didn't need that much size or power. They wanted something that could handle weekend projects, daily driving, and light work without burning through their wallets at the gas pump. The 1983 Ford Ranger answered that call perfectly. It was smaller, lighter, and significantly more fuel-efficient than the full-size trucks Ford was famous for. It immediately became a practical choice for suburban homeowners, young drivers, and small businesses. Engineered for simplicity and durability. At launch, the Ranger came with a range of 4-cylinder and V6 engine options. The base engine was a 2.0-liter 4-cylinder producing around 72 horsepower. Modest, but enough for light hauling and commuting. There was also a 2.3-liter 4-cylinder and a more powerful 2.8-liter V6 that offered much better performance for drivers who wanted extra pulling power. Buyers could choose between a 5-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic transmission, with both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive options available. The 4x4 Rangers were especially popular among outdoor enthusiasts and people living in rural areas. What made the Ranger stand out was its toughness in a small package. The truck's simple, boxy design meant it was easy to repair, easy to modify, and capable of withstanding years of hard use. Ford didn't try to overcomplicate it. They just built a reliable, honest little truck that worked, a truck for everyone. The 1983 Ranger offered multiple cab and bed configurations, which made it versatile enough for a wide range of uses. Whether you needed a work truck, a daily commuter, or a lightweight adventure vehicle, the Ranger could fill that role. It also looked good for its time. The straight body lines, simple grille, and practical styling gave it a clean, no-nonsense appearance that appealed to truck buyers who didn't want something overly styled or gimmicky. Inside, the Ranger's interior was basic but functional. It wasn't luxurious, but it was comfortable enough for everyday use. And it came with just enough features, like available air conditioning, AM/FM radios, and decent seating to make it a practical daily driver. Number 6, 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air, the car that redefined Chevrolet. The 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air wasn't just another model year. It was the beginning of something legendary. In fact, for many enthusiasts and historians, the 55 Bel Air is one of the most important cars Chevrolet ever built. It didn't just mark the start of the beloved Tri-5 era, 1955, 1956, 1957 Chevys. It completely transformed Chevrolet's image from basic transportation to something exciting, stylish, and desirable. This wasn't just a car. This was the car that put Chevrolet firmly in the heart of American culture. The bold new look, the first thing that made the 1955 Bel Air special was its revolutionary design. Chevrolet threw out the conservative lines of the past and went all in on modern, clean, and confident styling. Lower, wider, and longer. It looked fast even when standing still. That wraparound windshield was cutting edge. The crisp body lines, optional two-tone paint, and just the right amount of chrome made it a true standout. The iconic egg crate grille became instantly recognizable. This car was no longer the budget brand option. In 1955, the Bel Air looked like it belonged in the same conversation as the more expensive Oldsmobiles and Buicks. And people noticed. The small block V8, a game changer. What really cemented the Bel Air's place in history was the introduction of Chevrolet's all-new 265 cubic inch small block V8. Up until then, Chevrolet was known for reliable but unexciting six-cylinder engines. The 1955 V8 changed everything. It was compact, lightweight, affordable, and powerful for its size. The base V8 made 162 horsepower with a 2-barrel carburetor. A more potent version with a 4-barrel carburetor made 180 horsepower. It could easily outpace most of its direct competitors while still being practical for everyday use. The engine was a hit, not just in the Bel Air, but across Chevrolet's lineup, and versions of this small block would become the foundation of Chevy's performance reputation for decades. Inside, simple but stylish. The interior of the 1955 Bel Air was a big step up from the previous year's models. Chevrolet offered color-coordinated dashboards, premium materials, and stylish trim, especially in two-tone combinations that perfectly matched the exterior paint options. It was practical, comfortable, and had a sense of flair that made it more than just a car. It was a status symbol for middle-class America, a cultural icon. What makes the 1955 Bel Air so legendary isn't just its mechanical innovation or styling. It's what the car came to represent. It became a symbol of the American dream. It was affordable, but it looked expensive. It had power, but it was still reliable enough for the family. It wasn't just for car enthusiasts. It was for families, young drivers, and anyone who wanted to feel like they were part of something bigger. Part of post-war prosperity, growth, and modernity. The 55 Bel Air also laid the groundwork for the hot rod and custom car culture. Its small block V8 became the go-to platform for gearheads looking to build speed and style on a budget. Even today, it remains one of the most beloved and modified classics on the road. Number 5, 1957 Chevrolet 210, the underrated legend of the Tri-5 era. When people think of 1957 Chevrolets, the Bel Air usually gets all the attention. It's the one with the gold trim, the flashy accents, and the cultural spotlight. But quietly sitting alongside it was the 1957 Chevrolet 210, a more affordable, less flashy sibling that in many ways offered the same performance, the same quality, and for some drivers, even more charm. The Chevy 210 was the middle child in Chevrolet's lineup. It sat above the basic 150 model, but below the luxurious Bel Air. But make no mistake, the 210 was no afterthought. It was a practical, versatile, and stylish car that could be optioned to near Bel Air levels, but without the same price tag. A simpler, cleaner design. The 1957 210 shared the same basic body structure as the Bel Air, including the iconic tail fins that defined the era. But unlike the Bel Air's extravagant gold trim and heavy chrome, the 210 was more restrained, more straightforward, and arguably more honest. The side trim was simpler, with fewer flashy accents. The interior was clean and practical, but you could still option it with two-tone upholstery and upgraded materials. The 210 was available as a two-door sedan, four-door sedan, station wagon, and hardtop, offering buyers real flexibility. For many families and working-class buyers, the 210 was the perfect balance between affordability and style. Performance that matched the Bel Air. What's often forgotten is that the 1957 Chevrolet 210 could be equipped with the exact same engines as the Bel Air. The big news in 1957 was the introduction of Chevy's 283 cubic inch V8, which could be ordered with a 2-barrel, 4-barrel, or even fuel injection, a cutting-edge option for its time. With fuel injection, the engine produced up to 283 horsepower, 1 horsepower per cubic inch, an incredible feat in 1957. You could also pair the 210 with a 3-speed manual, 2-speed power glide automatic, or a more advanced turbo glide automatic transmission. In short, the 210 may have looked like a budget model, but you could make it just as powerful as the top-tier Bel Air. Many hot rodders loved this because they could get all the speed without paying for the extra chrome. An unofficial hot rod hero. In fact, the 1957 Chevy 210 quietly became a favorite among racers and customizers. Without the extra weight of Bel Air trim and with fewer expensive accessories, the 210 was lighter and cheaper to modify. This made it a popular platform for drag racing, hot rodding, and street performance builds. Even today, many gearheads specifically seek out the 210 because it's seen as the sleeper version of the famous Tri-5 Chevys. More than just the middle child. Yes, the 210 didn't have the same prestige or marketing spotlight as the Bel Air, but that's exactly what makes it special. It was the car that was accessible, customizable, and perfectly in tune with what the average American driver wanted at the time. It was a car that families drove to school, teenagers turned into drag racers, and collectors now look back on with deep respect. Number 4, 1959 Chevrolet Impala, the wild, bold, and unmistakable icon. When you think of 1950s American cars, few models capture the spirit of the era as perfectly as the 1959 Chevrolet Impala. It wasn't just a car, it was a rolling piece of sculpture, a bold design statement, and one of the most recognizable cars Chevrolet ever produced. The 1959 Impala broke all the rules. It was longer, lower, wider, and far more dramatic than anything that came before it. This was Chevrolet swinging for the fences, and whether you loved it or hated it, you couldn't ignore it. The boldest design Chevrolet ever built. The first thing everyone remembers about the 59 Impala is the design. It was wild. The tail fins didn't point up. They spread out like wings, being buoyed and flat. Some called them bat wing fins. The cat's eye taillights were unique to the 1959 model and were a one-year-only design that still turns heads today. The car was huge, 210 inches long, wider than most garage doors, and lower to the ground than many sports cars of the time. Every angle of the 1959 Impala screamed confidence. It wasn't subtle, it was a showpiece, a car built to impress your neighbors, your friends, and anyone you passed on the highway. It was America's favorite full-size car. The Impala name had debuted just a year before as a high-end trim on the Bel Air. But by 1959, it became its own model line, and it quickly became Chevrolet's bestseller. What made the 1959 Impala so appealing was that you could get it exactly how you wanted it, as a 2-door hardtop, 4-door sedan, or convertible, with simple 6-cylinder engines for the budget-conscious, or with big, powerful V8s for drivers who wanted more speed and presence. The most exciting option was the 348 cubic inch V8, which could produce up to 315 horsepower. Pretty serious muscle for a full-size family car at the time. It was flashy, but practica. Despite the outlandish design, the 1959 Impala wasn't just about looks. It was a genuine family car with a smooth ride, a spacious interior, and enough comfort for long road trips. The wide bench seats could easily fit 6 adults, and the trunk was enormous. Yes, the sloping rear window and low roofline created some visibility challenges, but that wasn't enough to slow down its popularity. It defined an era. The 1959 Chevrolet Impala captured the spirit of late 1950s America, Big, bold, optimistic, and not afraid to stand out. It was built at a time when gas was cheap, roads were getting bigger, and drivers wanted cars that made a statement. Number 3, 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle. The start of a muscle car revolution. The 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle wasn't just another mid-size car. It was Chevrolet's answer to a growing demand for affordable power, stylish versatility, and everyday practicality. It arrived at the perfect time, right when America was falling in love with muscle cars, but still needed room for the family. The Chevelle would go on to become one of Chevrolet's most successful and beloved nameplates, and 1965 was a key turning point in its story. A perfect middle ground. In the early 1960s, the Chevy Impala was getting bigger and heavier, and the compact Chevy 2 Nova was too small for many buyers. Chevrolet needed a car that sat comfortably in the middle, something practical, but also with room to grow into a performance machine. That's where the Chevelle came in. It was the perfect size, not too big, not too small, offered in a variety of body styles: two-door coupe, four-door sedan, convertible, and station wagon. It was affordable, easy to maintain, and versatile enough to fit the needs of young drivers, families, and speed enthusiasts alike. A cleaner, sharper design. The 1965 model year brought a slightly more aggressive look to the Chevelle compared to its debut in 1964. The grille was redesigned with a cleaner, more horizontal layout. Subtle body updates gave the car a sharper, more muscular profile. It still retained classic proportions: long hood, short deck, wide stance. It was understated but undeniably cool. The kind of car that could blend into daily traffic but still turn heads when fitted with the right options. The beginning of the SS 396 legend. While the 1965 Chevelle came with a range of engines, from reliable straight sixes to small block V8s, the big story was the introduction of the Chevelle Malibu SS 396 Z16. This ultra-rare limited production model was Chevrolet's first serious step into the big block muscle car world. It came with a 396 cubic inch V8 pumping out 375 horsepower. Only around 200 Z16 Chevelles were produced, making it one of the rarest Chevelles ever built. It had upgraded suspension, heavy-duty brakes, and special badging. The Z16 set the stage for what would become the legendary Chevelle SS 396 in 1966, one of the most famous muscle cars of all time. Everyday muscle. One of the reasons the Chevelle became so popular was its balance. It was fast if you wanted it to be, but still practical for commuting and hauling groceries. It had plenty of options for customization, whether you wanted a budget-friendly ride or a sporty, loaded-up coupe. It was easy to work on, making it a favorite among home mechanics and young gearheads. The Chevelle wasn't just a weekend toy, it was a car you could live with every day. Number 2, 1964 Chevrolet El Camino. The return of a classic built for work and play. The 1964 Chevrolet El Camino marked a bold comeback for Chevy's car-truck hybrid, a vehicle that combined the utility of a pickup with the style and comfort of a passenger car. After stepping away from the El Camino concept for a few years, Chevrolet brought it back in 1964, and this time, they got the formula just right. It wasn't just a quirky design, it became an icon. The El Camino returns. The first generation El Camino, 1959 to 1960, was Chevrolet's answer to the Ford Ranchero. But it didn't last long. It was stylish, but maybe too ahead of its time. By 1964, though, things had changed. Chevy relaunched the El Camino based on the brand new Chevelle platform. This was key because it made the El Camino smaller, lighter, and more versatile, exactly what the market wanted. It looked like a Chevelle from the front. It worked like a pickup in the back. It blended the best of both worlds. A clean, modern design, the 1964 El Camino embraced Chevrolet's new midsize styling, long, low, and sharp-edged. The front end borrowed heavily from the Chevelle, giving it a sporty, car-like appearance. The bed was functional, not oversized, making it easy to park and drive daily. The design was clean, uncluttered, and practical. It didn't scream work truck, but it could handle a day's work. For people who needed a vehicle that could haul on Saturday and cruise on Sunday, the El Camino was a perfect fit. Power options from mild to wild. One of the El Camino's biggest advantages was its flexibility under the hood. It was available with economical six-cylinder engines for those who needed reliability and fuel efficiency. V8 options offered more power for people who wanted to tow, haul, or just enjoy a little extra muscle on the open road. By late 1964, the El Camino could even be optioned with the Chevrolet's high-performance V8s, making it a true sleeper. A truck that could outrun sports cars at a red light. The El Camino SS wouldn't officially arrive until later, but even in '64, the performance potential was there. Practical, but cool. What set the 1964 El Camino apart was that it didn't look like a work vehicle. It was stylish enough for daily use, practical enough for weekend chores, and versatile enough to appeal to young buyers, families, and tradespeople alike. It could carry heavy loads in the bed. It drove like a car, smooth, comfortable, and fast. It had the same interior quality as the Chevelle, making it more refined than traditional trucks. Why it matters, the 1964 Chevrolet El Camino wasn't just a quirky niche vehicle, it became the foundation of one of Chevrolet's most beloved nameplates. Number 1. 1999 of Chevrolet Tahoe, the SUV that changed the game. The 1990s Chevrolet Tahoe was more than just another SUV. It marked a turning point in the American car market, the moment when SUVs fully shifted from rugged, utilitarian tools to everyday family vehicles that people genuinely wanted to drive. The Tahoe's combination of size, comfort, power, and style made it an instant hit. It didn't just compete in the SUV world, it helped define what an SUV could be for the modern driver. A new era for Chevrolet SUVs. Before the Tahoe, Chevrolet was selling the full-size Blazer, a big, boxy off-roader known for its durability, but not exactly for refinement. The 1995 Tahoe replaced the Blazer name for the two-door and four-door SUV lineup and immediately modernized Chevrolet's image. More refined styling, rounded edges, smoother lines, and less of the hard, truck-like look. More comfort-focused interior. The cabin was noticeably more upscale, designed to appeal to suburban families, not just hunters and contractors. Two sizes. Tahoe was available as a two-door or four-door, giving buyers more flexibility depending on whether they wanted more cargo space or more passenger seating. The Tahoe was Chevrolet's way of telling the market, this isn't just a work truck, this is an SUV you can live with every day. Powered by real muscle. Under the hood, the 1995 Chevrolet Tahoe didn't mess around. It was equipped with the legendary 5.7-liter V8, 350 cubic inches, that was tough, torquey, and reliable. It produced around 200 horsepower and over 300 pound-feet of torque, offered both rear-wheel drive and four-wheel drive options. It could tow serious loads, making it a favorite for families with boats, trailers, or campers. What made the Tahoe so popular was that it combined full-size truck capability with surprising driving comfort. It handled better than many people expected for its size and delivered a smooth ride both on and off the pavement. A comfortable workhorse inside, the 1990 Tahoe felt more like a car than a pickup truck. Comfortable bench or bucket seats, optional leather trim and upgraded sound systems, easy-to-read gauges and a dashboard layout that was simple but effective. The Tahoe was also one of the first SUVs to seriously attract suburban buyers who might have never considered driving a truck-based vehicle before. It wasn't just a utility machine anymore. It became a lifestyle choice, a market shaper. The launch of the 1995 Tahoe helped pave the way for the SUV explosion of the late 1990s and early 2000s. It hit the sweet spot,